Let's see. All right, we're live. Welcome back, Mr. Westfall. Pat, I want to say happy Father's Day to you
Yeah, man.
and everybody else that's out there, all you fathers, today. And also, I want to thank you for agreeing to kind of sit on the chopping block. I mean, we're pretty much getting away from the Odinism stuff. Is that word even familiar to you? Odinism? Is that a term that you would even use?
No, also true is how I refer to it, how I speak about it in any general conversation or any of the people I ever practice ceremonies with. It's just referred to as also true. Odinism is like the prison issue version of also true. That's your more white power, Saxonite, Aryan Brotherhood form of the religion, I guess. No, we
So
call it
that's it.
also true.
So that's another misconception, right? They try to tie you into that neo-Nazi
Yeah.
Odinism stuff.
Yeah. And the Odinite shit, that was just all a bunch of just on the spot made up crap from those attorneys. And I've never pissed with Odinism. It's always also true.
Okay, so this is where we are, and I kind of explained how I wanted to open up. Is basically they arrested Richard Allen, they put out the PCA, and the case against Richard Allen was strong, and everybody was confident
Mhm.
in their suspect. And then he gets his defense team, and they leak out a Frank's memo, which puts out the names of some third-party suspects, yours included, Brad Holder, and a group of other folks that I'm sure we'll get to, which, in my opinion, weakened the probable cause against Richard Allen. So once that came out and weakened the PCA, here on this channel, with help from you, we were able to debunk the majority of what was written in the Franks memo, which, in my opinion, restores the strength in the PCA. And that's why we're talking to you today, because during this strange case, they just start throwing out all these names, including yours.
Well, that's their job as his defense attorney. I mean, said from the get go, I can't be mad at them for working for their client, but they kind of shit all over other people in the process of doing it. And that's where I drew the line.
Well, it's kind of strange, don't you think, that they started adding all these names in that without real proof? I mean, let's see. They brought up
Yeah, they
something
called
where
it facts. They
no, it was
repeated the
hearsay.
word fact. I don't know how many times in that damn memorandum they facts, but not one bit of it was. It was all just a bunch of reaching for straws and horse shit, in my opinion, at least.
Well, it looks like we do have some callers. Let's start with Purdue RN. Purdue, welcome on the Sleuth Intuition channel. You are live with Patrick Westfall. What's on your mind?
Hi, thanks for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming in
Yeah,
loud
I
and
can hear
clear.
you.
Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. And thank you, both Patricks, for coming on and clearing up some things. And Sleuth, let me just say that I thought you did a fabulous interview the first time around. No complaints, no criticisms there. And
Thanks.
Patrick, I first have a personal question for you. I'm tickled to get to be on. I grew up in White County, and I went to school with some Westfalls. Are you
Yep.
related to the Reynolds Westfalls, Chuck and Greg and Mim? Are you related to that Westfall group?
As a matter of fact, from what I understand, the Westfall side around this part of the country are from the Brookston, White County area in Indiana. I've never personally met any of them, but I know my grandma and grandpa Westfall are buried in White County. So, yes, those are somehow cousins, distant cousins. I need to go track people down and meet them because I've never met anybody else in my family besides my immediate family that I grew up with. I've aunts, uncles, really nothing. But yeah,
I get a little bit of an echo, so I apologize for the delay, but they're very good people, Patrick. I'm just going to tell you that like I said, I know a lot of Westfalls from growing up with them.
Yep. I'd like to meet him too one of these days, but never really knew him growing up, and just always so busy with my kids and my family that I've never went out and started trying to climb out the branches of the family tree and shake hands, but I need to. There's no excuses. I need to.
Probably the big question that everyone has on their mind is, do you know who did kill Abby or Libby?
No idea. That was one of the questions that they did ask me repeatedly during that polygraph, is if I had any knowledge of who did, or anyone who organized, or if I had organized it, if I set it up. I mean, they went pretty thorough with that style of questioning, and told them all during the polygraph that I have no knowledge of it. I didn't know anyone who did it and never had any involvement. And through every single repeated panel they asked, it was 100% green light. I really wish I could get a copy of that damn thing, because I would be more than happy to put it out for everyone to read and see.
Thank you for clearing that up. The
Yep,
other
no problem.
thing was, did you share with your sister that you did know who was involved, or that there was some potential involvement or DNA from you? Did you share that with a family member or sister or something?
No. I only have a couple sisters, and I've never really talked to them much about any of this crap that's happened since that memorandum came out. And no, I think you're referring to that dude that was down there in Rushville, aren't you? That was talking to his sister about spitting on somebody or something. That wasn't me. That was that guy from down south, if my memory serves correct.
Elvis.
Yeah, there you go. Elvis.
Okay, thank you, Patrick, so much for clearing that up, and thank you, Sleuth, for allowing me to come on and ask some questions. So I
For
really
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for calling
Yes,
in.
ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome on Spectrum of Thoughts.
Thank you, Sleuth.
Go ahead, and you're on with
Yes,
Patrick
sir. Thank you.
Purdue, and Dark Arts will bring you on in just a few.
Mr. Westfall, I just have one question. Have you ever seen some of Brad Holder's Facebook posts with some of his runes versus what we know about the crime scene now, and what your thoughts are on both sets of pictures and diagrams?
I've seen a few of the pictures, to be honest. I used to have social media a long time ago, and I've seen a few of the posts when he was still Facebooking with me, and I never saw anything, at least when I still talked with Brad Holder, that seemed weird or out of place. It was just all mainly religious stuff and pictures of us out at, festivals and things like that. But afterwards, I did see still shots of the runes around by a tree somewhere. I think I saw one or two of them, and it really didn't seem too crazily out of place, but I never saw him as a potential killer either. So
Thank you. That was all for my questions. Have a good day, everyone.
if you're talking, I can't hear anything going on at this moment.
I just have a
Oh,
comment,
okay.
Patrick. Thank you
okay,
for
there
your
we go.
service. I wanted to tell you that, and also happy Father's Day to both Sleuth and you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to, I was on mute. I wanted to welcome on Dark Arts with Adrian. You're on with Patrick Westfall.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you, Sleuth, and thank you, Patrick.
Mhm.
I was wondering, I couldn't really hear what was going on. Were there some other questions that were asked pertaining to Richard Allen?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
So do you know if Brad Holder knew or knows Richard Allen?
Not why he was coming to my house in Delphi. there was never a mention of him, and he never came by. He was never a stop and visit, and we never went up to see him anywhere in town. It just me, Brad, his kids, my wife at
Okay.
the time, her kids, and that was really about all who ever came over to the house.
Okay. And he never
But
talked
never a
about,
Richard Allen.
okay, yeah, he never mentioned like a Richard Allen or anything.
No,
Okay. Is it true Abby was at your home?
no. I just heard about that here recently myself, speaking with
Yeah.
somebody else, and they asked me if I knew about Brad Holder, had went in and answered some questions somewhere, not a polygraph or anything like that, to actually see, if he was potentially lying or nothing, but another line of questioning. And they told me that he'd mentioned that he was at my house at the time, and one of the girls had came over to see his boy, but that was an absolute crock.
Whoa, yeah.
That Logan kid never had anybody come over to my house. That kid was a social setback. He couldn't talk to people in person. I mean, he barely communicated with us at the house while we were all hanging out. And I'd been around Logan for, a good handful of times, and
Yeah.
he never had no people come over, nothing. No.
That's so weird that Brad would say that. And
Oh, he's been saying a lot of weird stuff.
yeah. Yeah, let's see. Did you know, or do you know of anyone that knew James Chadwell?
No.
No.
Well, it might be the
Okay.
first time I've heard that name.
Okay. Do you know a Bill Daly, like Holder's workout buddy?
No.
No. Okay. Which motorcycle clubs have you been associated with, or are you associated with?
No, I don't ride with anybody. I just ride my bike by myself.
Oh,
I
okay.
spent a little bit of time when I was younger around an MC because my dad was in one, but that was in the
Oh,
late
cool. That's
80s.
cool. Do you know which MC it was?
I honestly can't even remember at this time. Like I said, it was in the 80s. I was still single digit age back then.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
hit in the head and thrown around and
Oh.
tossed out second story windows enough in my life that my brain's like a bag of cats.
Bag of cats. Did you or Brad ever hang out at Ron Logan's home or on his property?
No.
No. Okay.
Ron
And
Logan
then,
was the guy who lived close to the
y-
High Bridge Trail, right?
yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. No, we never went anybody's house over there. I went out to that creek with my kids in the past, but we never
Yeah.
went to
It
anybody's
is.
house to get down there.
It's really pretty out there too. I could see
It
like
is.
anybody going down there. It's really nice. And then just a couple more. I'm really sorry. But are you familiar with Paul Wagner?
It does sound familiar,
He's a published
but not.
author.
Oh no.
Okay.
What's his? I mean, what kind of stuff has he wrote? It might help me
He's done a lot of stuff
trigger
on
something.
runes, like rune yoga and stuff.
Oh no. I never
No.
dove too deep into the whole divination side of runes, and you know, I got a little bit of a knowledge when it comes to runes, but I've never really started getting books and reading and diving deep into it. And the 3 blocks of runes, how it's Heimdall's runes and Frey's
Mhm.
runes and Thor. I've never got into that deep side of the runic part of
Okay.
it.
Um, and then recently the Troth with Lauren Crow was on Murder Sheet, I think, for the second time, but they've um talked about how they don't feel affiliated with like Odinism, of course, but do you feel like the Troth is in any way representative of Asatru belief and practice, or like any Norse Germanic paganism in general?
I don't know about that group personally, or how they practice, or what their core beliefs are when it comes to Asatru. I honestly don't know who they even are.
Okay.
Every group varies a little differently, I guess, but Odinism is the prison side of Asatru. That's how I refer to it.
Okay.
Anyone that I've ever known refers to it that. We don't call it Odinism. That's your prison groups and the skinhead groups that practice Odinism.
How does Aryan, do you know if Aryan Brotherhood overlaps with Odinism?
Some of them are Christian, some of them,
Okay.
mess with Asatru, Odinism, or however they want to refer to it. I'm sure there's some of them that do, yeah.
And then
Never
lastly,
met any of them, so.
okay. Is there any way other people would be able to get in contact with you if we ever wanted to ask you some more questions?
I'm sure that they can reach out to Sleuth. He's the man with the plan and the knowledge.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
snap.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sleuth, for doing this. Thank you, Patrick, for coming on and doing this. It's really brave, and thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Dark
no
Art.
worries.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Bye. All right. We actually have somebody on the line. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, caller, you are live on the Sleuth Intuition channel. We have 420 Dickerson.
Yes, I am.
You're live with Patrick Westfall. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry, I had my phone still on and it was echoing. Have you ever known anybody that lives on the other side of the bridge in Deer Creek?
The other side of the bridge in Deer Creek.
Hello?
He's thinking.
Oh, okay.
What bridge are you referring to?
What bridge?
High Bridge.
The High
Just
Bridge.
on the other
Oh,
side of
The
it,
other
like in
side.
Deer
On the
Creek.
Oh,
south,
no.
on the south side.
Community.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Like, I think the road's 252 and 625, I think, where Abby lived. She lived on one of them roads.
Oh, no. I never knew anybody on the other side of the High Bridge. If I ever was heading in that direction, I was out on the Hoosier Heartland.
You want
I
to
never
take
went to anybody's house out there.
your off and show us your tattoos?
Huh?
Hello?
Well, you can't hear him, ma'am, so you need to ask your question and then kind of wait and let him respond.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you responded.
What was your question?
The first one was if he knows anybody that lives on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, he said no.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can't hear him for some reason.
It's okay.
Um,
I'm the middleman here when it comes to the phone.
Thank you. Oh, and thank you for your service, by the way, and happy Father's Day.
Yeah,
And
appreciate it.
He says thank you.
if
Appreciate
you're,
it.
thank you. Appreciate that. And if he's down and he's proud, does he want to show his tattoos?
I really don't feel like getting into a strip show here on the.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird request. He says, hell no.
You have to check out all my work on Pornhub if you want to see my tattoos.
She hung up. I think that was a
Oh.
bit of a troll call.
Down and proud for what? The hell's there to be proud about his tattoos? You can get him at 16 years old.
Yeah. Stripping in front of a group.
Yeah.
I don't think that would make you proud. All right. And we still have Purdue RN. Is there anything you wanted to ask? Otherwise, we can go to the chat. They're going crazy. Let's see. Beach Fairy, have you
Probably, I think it's a good question. Patrick, is
you're going to have to turn off the YouTube you got on Purdue.
probably, I think it's a good question.
So stay on
Are
stream
you
mode
going to pursue?
and close
Okay.
down your YouTube.
Hang on just a minute.
So stay on.
Are you going to pursue? There, is that better?
Yep, that's 100% better. Now you shouldn't have an echo.
Are you going to pursue any action for defamation of character for what the defense has done, putting your name and other names out as being involved in the case?
I have been looking for an attorney actively since that memorandum came out at the end of last year. I cannot get anyone who will take my case right now. I think everybody's too scared to touch it. I did have someone that seemed eager to do it, but he had a partner at his law firm that thinks those two defense attorneys are absolute heroes. And his partner came up to him and told him basically that if you take this guy's case, I'm going to break this law firm apart. So I wouldn't suggest that you even touch Pat Westfall's case. And the guy called me up and pretty much told me those exact words and apologized. And we went on our separate ways. But I'm looking actively. I'm going to sue them dudes inside and out with everything I can for everything they got as soon as I can find an attorney to do so. Yep.
Okay, let's we have 2 more callers. We'll start with you, Fiend. You joined backstage a little bit before Don't Hate Create. So if you have a question, you are on. Looks like you're muted
Thank you.
though. Thank you, Purdue.
Yeah, what's up, Sleuth?
What's
What's
up?
up, Patrick? And Don't Hate Create. I think on the previous interview, Patrick had talked about one of his buddies that was a supply sergeant that was a boyfriend to one of the girls. I was just wondering if there was, he didn't remember everything at the time. I was just wondering if he recollected anything further regarding that person or which girl's mother that was.
I do believe Anna is one of the girls, right? One of the moms.
Right.
I do believe it was Anna that was dating one of the supply sergeants at military unit that I was with years and years ago. Probably hell before I even went to my first tour in 2006. So maybe around 2005 area.
So that was specifically with your group.
Yep.
And then you and Brad were active overseas, correct? In Afghanistan, is that right?
Yeah, he was with me on my second tour. I was actually training their company down at Camp Atterbury, and a few of the people I was on my first tour with had volunteered to go right back over with his group. And while they were out on the training courses at Camp Atterbury, my buddies talked me into going with them. So I gave up my, reserve status, I guess it was, my training status, and just volunteered and went over with them all. And that's how I really got to know Brad, because when we hit in country, our whole group split off into different squads that went around to different areas of the province. And Brad was in the group that was, he was with me out in the area that we lived together. So we were with each other the whole deployment.
In Afghanistan, did you guys ever see action over there? Like were you ever under
there
fire
was
and whatnot?
coordinated attacks on bases we were at. We had police chiefs get blowed out, burned to pieces. I mean, there was enough to sustain me and, have me glad that I was home in one piece. We never lost anybody while we were over there, but we had plenty of fun events to sit back and tell tales about.
Gotcha. Are you aware that Richard Allen was also a sergeant in the Army Guard?
After all this memorandum stuff came out and we got to talking about it on Sleuth's channel, I heard about him being in the military, and that's what triggered me to ask the question about if him and Brad were in at some point. Because on my last tour, I was medevaced out of country back to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I spent a few months in the hospital there. And I don't know what happened with Brad for the rest of his time in, because we didn't talk for probably a couple of years after I was home before we bumped back into each other and started hanging out. So if that made me wonder if Brad might have met him somewhere along that time frame and along his travels when he was still in. So
yeah, I think that the tail end of Richard Allen's career overlaps with the beginning of Brad's like service, or vice versa, or whatever. But yeah, I'm not aware of exactly. I mean, you wouldn't know exactly which groups Brad Holder was in as far as his military career, right?
He was with the infantry armory out of Logansport, Indiana, the Bravo Company, second of the 151 Infantry Battalion.
Gotcha. Is that the same as you?
I was different. No, I was with a different group.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
volunteered to join his company and his group at Camp Atterbury and go over with them.
Gotcha.
So I was training soldiers down there on a totally different section of it. That it?
I think that might be it. I'm trying to think if I had any other questions where I can just hang on here and
All right, go ahead, man.
Don't hate create can go ahead. I'm sure she's got some good questions.
All right, we'll bring her on, and I'm going to put you on mute. If you guys need me, just hit me in the private chat. Don't hate create. If you're there, we're ready for you.
Sorry, I had to get to unmute my mic. Can you hear me?
Welcome. Yeah, welcome on. We can hear you loud and clear. You're on with Patrick Westfall.
Okay, so hi, happy Father's Day, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering, did your daughter? You said your daughter was like the same age as the girls, right?
Uh-huh.
Did they do any like sports or activities like that with the girls, or?
Unless any of the girls were in cross country, because I know my daughter did the cross country, but she's never in volleyball or if they had a swim team or anything like that. I don't know of, but my daughter did do cross country, so I don't know if any of the girls were runners or not, but that would be as far as I would know if they had any sports together. It'd been running.
Okay, and then did your son and Logan hang out? Like, did they have a friendship without you and Brad?
Oh no, my boys didn't really like Logan or the younger brother, Brad's youngest boy. My boys really didn't like them too much. They were very socially awkward and didn't speak and converse much. They would just sit there with their chins in their chest, playing on their phones pretty much the whole time they were at our house. And my boys are super active. They're always in creeks and rolling around in mud and climbing trees and getting on the freaking roof of the house and shit, just, normal boy stuff. But Brad's kids were nowhere near those type of kids. They were so freaking socially awkward. It was hard to even be around them sometimes.
Okay. And then when you kicked Brad out, that when you guys got into your fight or whatever, did Logan leave with his dad, and was that Sunday before the girls went missing?
I'm not 100% positive if Brad had his boys there the day that we asked him to just go on his way and do his own thing. And I'm not sure if the boys were there that day or not.
Okay. And then
Hey, can I jump in here? When you talk about boys, I mean, is that both Levi and Lane, or just one of the two? Or, I mean, are you familiar with like Levi Holder much?
Levi was the younger brother, right?
Levi was the oldest one, and Lane was the little one.
It was just, both of those boys. They were both at the house with Brad on occasion. They didn't come every time, but
all three of them.
Just to I didn't realize he had another boy on top of those two. Honestly, I never met him or spoke to him. He just had the I'm assuming the younger two sons there.
That probably sounds like it. Sorry.
The one that was dating one of the girls apparently online, and then the youngest boy was the two that I knew of and met and had over at my house.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it sounds like the younger two probably.
So I just have two more questions, and thank you again. I feel like it's really cool that you would come on and take all these questions. And so
Yeah, no worries.
Are you and Brad similar ages?
No, Brad's got me by 3 or 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. He's older than I am.
Okay, and then my last one is, did you go to school with did you go to school in Delphi?
No, I grew up on the south side Lafayette. I went to Miller, Tecumseh, Jeff High School, a little bit of time out at McCutcheon High School. Brad was from Logansport, so he went and did his thing up there. I never went to any schools in Carroll County. My kids did, but I didn't.
Okay, so I know that I've heard that Delphi is very the established people kind of know each other, but then outsiders maybe have a harder time assimilating. Did you feel like you that you were a part of that town, or maybe, I don't know.
No, I didn't go around and talk to neighbors on the front porches. And there was a few people in the area of the town I lived in. I'd go over and hang out with them and, shoot the shit when I'd see them standing outside. But I didn't really know a whole lot of people and make it a point to go out and meet a whole lot of people. I had the people I ran with and personality clashes and all that stuff. I didn't spend too much time trying to be the social bug in Delphi. I'm not a social bug anywhere, to be honest, but
I'm totally the same way, so I totally get that. I do have a couple more questions, if that's okay.
Sure. And then we'll go to Lewis Cipher right after you.
Okay. Do you think that Johnny Messer himself could have had anything to do with the girls, or is that something he would do?
he's a scummy ass person. He is one of the most low life bastards I ever met in my life for the short time that I knew him. I can't say that I wouldn't put it past him and his character and just the dirtbag way he chose to live life and be and present himself out in public. Like him and his girlfriend at the time, they had no problem with just basically wearing it on their sleeve that they were both just scumbag con artists and turds all around.
Were they into Asatru as well? Like the Vinlanders, is that also Asatru, or is that totally separate?
Say that last part one more time. I'm sorry.
If the Vinlanders, being in the Vinlanders also means that you practice Asatru, or are those two separate things?
It's a requirement.
Okay, so Johnny Messer would also have been into Asatru. I don't know.
He put a hammer on. He put the hammer on just to get in the door of the VSC. He wasn't diehard belief. That wasn't his choice to be, Asatru. I never ever really seen him do any practicing, any ceremonies. He never referred to the gods or the goddesses. I mean, anything like that. It wasn't who he was. It was just I wouldn't say a trend for him, but he put on a hammer just to get his foot in the door. And that's why we have such a long process with the VSC of hang around time and probate time. We will find out the truth about you. We'll dig into your background. We do background checks on people, have PIs look into people, and we'll have you around long enough that we'll find out if that's who you really are and what kind of person you really are. And it didn't take us long to find out everything we need to know about him and send him on his way. But I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't have a hammer on it right now. I wouldn't be shocked because that's not who he was.
Do you probably see a lot of that as far as people that are mostly have a Christian background, but they're getting into the Asatru stuff to join a group like that?
I didn't see it a whole lot, but I do see a lot of people who will start, a lot of humans are chameleons. They'll change their outer appearance to fit into a social group or a new group of people that they find interesting, and it's, different and new to them. And, there's a lot of people out there that see Asatru, coming back, and it's coming back in a wildfire across the country. And a lot of people are just jumping on board because it's trendy. It's nothing that they actually believe or have any stock in.
Yeah, it's very similar to other religions as far as you got your most people that are Christians don't go to church every Sunday. You got your people that are very casual about stuff, and then your people that are actually practice it.
Right. I agree. They got a lot of them out there.
Right. I've got another question. Is just a point of something that's come up. Like,
let's invite Lewis Cipher on real quick. So just hang tight, real quick, Fiend. Lewis has been waiting patiently. You're on, Lewis. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, what's up, fellas?
What's up? Welcome in.
Happy Father's Day. Happy
Thank
Father's Day to me. These questions might be kind of weary because I'm pretty stoned for Father's Day, man. So hells yeah. All right, Patrick, man. It's good to see you on here answering some questions and stuff like that. I'm just curious, do you know anybody on either side of the family?
The girls' family?
Yes, sir.
Just at the time before all of the murders happened, I didn't realize who one of the girls' mom was. It wasn't until after everything had happened, me and my wife at the time, we were sitting someplace while she was having a few drinks, and then we noticed one of the girls' moms and invited her over to the table because she was sitting alone. And after we got to talking for a few minutes, I realized that, I knew her from years previous and through military shit. And actually, one of those girls used to sit in a car seat out in the hallway of the armory next to my daughter when they were both itty bitty little infants and shit. And
you're kidding me, man.
No, it was a crazy conversation, and I honestly couldn't believe I'd never recognized her and realized who she was before that moment. I kind of felt like an asshole about it, to be truthful.
Right.
But I didn't know any of them beforehand. I still don't know any of them to this day, besides the brief time I knew Anna from in the past.
Hey, where was the armory?
Frankfurt.
Okay.
Right on. Am I still going?
Yep.
Do you have any family, friends, or anything at any time in law enforcement?
Oh no. No.
None at all.
My dad wasn't a big fan of law enforcement. My dad messed around in the MC world when I was younger, and then packed up and dove off to the East Coast when I was a little kid, and I never had any cousins or aunts or uncles that we really associated with too much. There wasn't family get-togethers or cookouts or holidays with family members and shit. I would see him every 3 or 4 years for a few minutes, and it's kind of a broken family and shit. So,
right.
But as far as I know, none of them were ever law enforcement or turnkeys at a jail or probation officers or anything like that. So
yeah, man, that's cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think that's probably all I got for now. So you guys have a awesome Father's Day, and I'll do the same.
Thank you, Lewis Cipher.
You too.
Thanks for calling.
All right, bye. Later.
All right. Looks like it's just you, Fiend. Or no, we have a new caller real quick. True Grit Crime, you're on. Go for it.
Hi, thanks for having me. Mr. Westfall, I have some questions, a couple of them, if you could be so kind as to answer them for me.
I'll do my best.
Okay. So my first question is, are you still an active member of the Vinlanders social club? Like, is that still
No.
going?
I
No?
walked away from them a long, long time ago.
Okay. So I do have a question about the way that it kind of runs. Is there a reason why they run under, hold on, I gotta find it. Let's see. It's like they run under MC rules or things like, can you explain like how that goes, that runs?
I don't really see it as MC style rules or anything like that. It was a 3-piece patch club, but they didn't really run with MC style rules. There was no hierarchy, no chain of command. Every person had equal say so. It don't matter if if you were a patch holder for 5 minutes or 5 years, everybody had the same amount of say so, and each person was their own enforcer. There isn't a whole lot of us. So, you might be in situations where you have to deal with things on your own. So everybody was kind of their own enforcer and
Right.
stood their own ground by themselves and didn't take orders from anybody.
Okay. And was
It,
Brad Holder ever like a member of the firm 22 at all?
yeah, he was firm 22. He was a supporter,
Okay. And
but
then just
only
for
because of me and association with me. It wasn't nothing that he would have done on his own or, you know, people he would have been around if it wasn't been for association with me, to be honest.
okay.
As soon as we
Um
ran his ass off, he never wore another firm 22 piece of memorabilia or nothing.
and what about was the date that he was ran off with you guys? Do you have kind of like a time frame for that one?
I do not. Besides what people were talking about on his Facebook post about some argument out in the woods and ceremony gone wrong shit or something. It was around that time frame, but like I said, it was completely estrewed. It was in my living room in Delphi, and I know it
Gotcha.
was a Sunday because that's when he always came over, was a Sunday.
Right. So you're saying, like, just to put it in context, that you and Holder split ways, like the Sunday before the girls went missing, or was it like right as the girls were about to like go missing?
It was before, and probably not too long before, to be honest.
Okay. Um, let's see, what else do I have here? Um, can I ask you about the video of you painting an F versus like an F at the crime scene? There's like a video apparently of you painting an F.
There's a
I don't
video of
know.
me trying to wedge. I honestly wish I could remember if it was a coin or a chunk of crystal. It was one of the two, and I was wedging it into the bark of a tree up on my tippy toes, reaching as high as I could. Yeah, that.
Okay.
I'm not painting anything. I'm
Right, right.
wedging. I'm wet like, when you have the bowl of the sea salt and the mead and the earth and everything that you would do during a ceremony. When the ceremony's over, you'll put that next to a tree because,
Right, right.
we're nature-based religion. We have respect for nature. It's our church. I don't litter. I don't let anyone litter around me. We just absolutely adore nature and trees. And I was putting a crystal or a coin or something up in that tree as an offering to the land whites of the area. That's not painting or drawing or anything. It's just that's more sensationalism by them asshole defense attorneys.
Gotcha. Somebody had just asked for clarification and they were wondering if I could ask you. I'm glad that Sleuth put the video up there. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you. You have a
Yeah,
blessed and
yeah.
beautiful Father's Day.
Thank you, True Grit
Thanks.
Crime.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm glad you put that video up too, because for the longest time I couldn't remember what the hell people were talking about me drawing on a tree somewhere, and then I saw the video on your page. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Well, that's why it's important to do your own investigating and talk to folks like you who are mentioned, who are willing to discuss it, because then we can break apart the lies that are being put out, which are lies that
Right.
are expected. If if you have a defense team, you better hope they're doing everything they can to create that doubt, right?
Like I said, I'm not mad at them for how hard they're going in the paint for that dude, but
You should
they
be.
really shit on a lot of people they shouldn't have in the process.
Yeah, when it comes to this case, it's very strange. I found it strange that they were mentioning you guys by name, this whole group, right? Um, and I know that that was designed to go ahead and diminish the probable cause affidavit, which it did. But that's why it's important for people like us to actually investigate and try to get to the bottom of it. So I appreciate you joining us again for the second time.
Yep, no worries, man. I'm always
Uh,
down to help clear smoke up.
we do have Phoenix back in. Do you have anything else you needed to add, Phoen?
Yeah, I was gonna. So, I was one of the things that came up in recent hearing is that they collected your phone.
Yeah.
In August 2023, and what they were trying to insinuate is that when they checked it, that there wasn't much information on it. Like it had I mean,
and that was brought up to me by somebody.
Something here, but like, is there a reason that your phone wouldn't have had any information on it at the time?
Yeah, someone had brought that up to me here recently, that was something that was put out, and I had no idea that that was even put out. But I had recently gotten the phone that I have now. I had my old phone get ran over on some shipping and receiving docks where I work. Some chick on a fork truck drove over my phone as it fell out of my pocket. And I had just gotten that phone not much before they had contacted me, and I went in to talk to them. But I told them they can go through my Google Photos. I mean, you can Google history. Guys can get anything you want out, because my Google Drive, and I've had that for years. And I mean, it has travel history and maps on it and all my photos and everything. I let them take whatever they needed and screenshot. I didn't realize that, at the time, well, this phone wasn't very old. They just asked if they could get in there and look, take a snapshot of everything in my phone. So I let them when I went in for that polygraph and all that good shit.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would make sense with a new phone at the time.
I keep meaning to go to the phone store and actually get the date of purchase on that phone. So I'm going to put that out so everybody can see that. It's probably why that phone didn't have much on it, because I hadn't had it that long.
Gotcha. So, do you have any relation to Brigadier General Ronald Westfall?
You know how many times I've been asked that? I really wish I did.
I've never seen it anywhere.
There were so many times people were like, you related to Colonel. At the time, it was Colonel Westfall, and I was like, man, I wish I did, because apparently everybody knows this dude, and I've been more than happy being related to him, and got a little bit easier time while I was in the infantry and shit. But no.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm here. You are in the military.
Yeah.
See, my grandpa, he was in the military, and he did end up committing the S word.
Well, it sucks to hear, man. I hate to hear that kind of shit. I think we're up to like 10 people, 11 people for my military time in that have came home and done the same thing, man. And it breaks my damn heart to hear that kind of stuff. It really does.
Yeah, I had to kick that guy. I remember him. He called in and he was trolling. So he kind of calls in and he acts normal, and then he gets into some weird, like, racist shit.
Oh, well, all right then. I trust you, man.
All right. So I'm glad he called in, because I was able to ban him now. All right. So you
Probably
guys
still
can
sitting there
speak freely.
talking.
Now he knows he got kicked.
Something that precipitated, like, Brad was like doing his group with, like, he was the leader of, like, boots on the ground, kind of like, neighborhood Asatru, growing the community with kindreds and whatnot. But like he, at some point he said that he was turning it over to you. Do you know if there was like something that like made him like hand that over to you? And is that true? Like, I mean, he handed
No, Brad started fucking with Asatru because of me. He was watching me and listening to me while we were in Afghanistan together. He didn't start messing with Asatru until we came home. And then he started picking it back up and reading about it and things like that. But he had no interest or knowledge of Asatru until he first met me on our tour together. And that whole traveling folk builder shit, that came up at the tail end just before I sent him on his way, when we found out that he was going to church every Sunday. And the kindred that we had was not something Brad had dreamed up and handed over to me. Me and him were both standing at the top of the food chain on that kindred. That wasn't his idea, his thought process. Brad was also true because I was also true. I probably wouldn't be shocked to find out if he didn't even have a hammer on anymore after all of this.
Currently, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean,
damn, that's an old photo.
Did y'all like ever do like any like animal sacrifices and stuff? Because that's been something that's been talked about as like pretty like not uncommon with with doing the os tree?
No,
I know there's people
all
that
of
do
our
that.
offerings was food and mead and stuff like that. There was never no blood sacrifice. We never did an actual bloat. It was always just a bowl, like I said, the bowl that had the salt and the mead and the earth and things like that. And then a plate of food would be set out as an offering as well, but there was never no blooding, no bloating.
Where did y'all get your like meat from? Like, were you like into like that's a kind of a niche kind of thing? Like, I used to be really into like mead and craft mead and craft beer and stuff. So I'm pretty familiar
Oh
with
shit,
that.
you go in and get we got a winery in Indianapolis, Oliver Winery. They
Right.
make actually a really good mead. It's Camelot. That's what, dude, we would just go to the damn store, the CVS, and buy 5 or 6 bottles of it to bring back to the house. We weren't brewing it. I had buddies out of state that would brew mead, and they were damn good at it. And when we could get our hands on a bottle of that, that was always a good day. But shit, man, we went to CVS and got our mead. And the girls would bless it. The girls would take it off to the side away from the men because only they knew the words and the process and the ceremony to bless the mead. And then they would bring it back around the guys so we couldn't hear what they were doing or see what they were doing. And then we would go about our ceremonies.
So you may have bought mead from Richard Allen at some point. Is that possible?
Yeah, I heard he worked at that CVS. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't ring it up at the pharmacy. We'd go up to the cash register and ring it up. But I heard he worked at the CVS there in Delphi. God, I need to go back to that park and check out that tree and see if whatever I wedged up there is still up there, because it was high enough that most normal humans wouldn't be able to reach that spot in the tree. And I really wedged that damn thing into that bark hard. So
somebody probably went out there and tried.
It's possible. Said I was up there pretty damn far, man. I was reaching close to 8.5 to 9 foot up in that tree. So I need to go see if whatever's up there and have a video of me coming up to it. So people are like, oh, it's staged. It's phony.
And that's that's why it was important that we did speak to you, and that we did kind of investigate the information that was put in that Frank's memo. Because that's the kind of bullshit that they would put in there. You know what I mean? They would say, oh, just like at the crime scene, about 4 feet off the ground, they put some kind of symbol in blood on a tree. And that's just not the truth at all.
Nope. A lot of people ran with it, though, for quite a while.
And we did talk a little bit about what Amanda Holder was saying. She said that Brad told her all these horrible things about you. And even you said, well, he probably did say that. And I agree with that. He probably did tell her that. That doesn't mean that it's the truth. And it also makes it hearsay. So why are they putting hearsay in a Frank's memo?
Reaching for straws, man. Anything to make Richard Allen, anything to do their job. They don't probably have a whole lot to go with. So whatever they can latch out and grab onto, they're going to latch out and grab onto it.
All right. Anything you wanted to go over, Patrick? I think we've exhausted all the questions, man.
There's really nothing off the top of my head I can think of. I mean, and there's really not a whole lot else.
What's happened since all this, since we last spoke? You kind of mentioned some subpoenas. Were they actually the defense team trying to interview you? Did it seem like they were taking you serious?
They were sending me, I've gotten 3 subpoenas total from them. And I think one of them was in somewhere around the April to May timeframe. I got a subpoena, and then a day and a half later, they weren't filed through the courts. It was shit they was typing up themselves and not getting passed by the judge, but I guess they were still legit subpoenas. I looked into them. But they would always make it to where it was like within 16 business hours later, I had to be someplace. No chance to try to get an attorney to go with me. They were making sure that I could not have enough time to go at least pay some attorney a couple hours of wages and go somewhere with me, because most attorneys, they're booked months out.
Mhm.
So they were being pretty slick about what they were doing. And the first one was to go to Delphi actually for a deposition.
Well, that's
And I
probably what
got to the
Brad Holder did
courthouse.
then.
Yep, it was probably right around that time frame. I went up to the third floor, and one of them two shitbags walked up and stuck his damn hand out to shake my hand like we've been buddies from back in the day. And I just kind of looked at him and looked at his hand and laughed at him. And he drew it back and kind of felt the energy then and there that I'm not here to be your buddies. And I mean, it takes a lot of balls to walk up to a guy that you just shit all over for no reason and try to shake their hand like, you know, he's supposed to just hug you and have a little sewing circle. But I went in the room and told him basically that, you know, I've been cooperative the whole time. State police hit me up. Anybody's hit me up. I've been more than happy to go talk to him. I gave DNA. I've let him look into my phone. I took a polygraph, never needed a warrant or anything. I've been happy to cooperate right up until the moment that they put out that memorandum and shit all over me. And I told them cooperation's done. You guys can kiss my ass. I ain't saying a word to you or for you. And then they, you know, oh, well, this will just make our job easier. And I told them, I don't give a fuck if it makes your job easier or harder. I said, I ain't saying shit. I'm pleading the fucking fifth until I get an attorney. And they asked me how long do I think that would take. And I told them, I don't know, but you'll know when I have an attorney. Believe me, you'll know when I have one. And
what's going on with Brad? Didn't you say he kind of sat down? You heard through the grapevine he sat down with some folks.
Yep. He went and they subpoenaed him in as well. Don't know where it was, if it was in Delphi or if it was in Fort Wayne, but he went in to talk to them a little bit more. And apparently that's where the whole Logan had one of the girls at my house during one of our kindred get-togethers and shit like that. And I can't remember what else I was told that he said, but it's more of just a Brad Holder, you know, octopus squirting ink out as he fucking runs away the other way type scenario. And I wish the coward would go in there and take a polygraph and let people ask him, you know, or any of the statements you've been making about Pat Westfall true, and they'll find out right there in the freaking spot he's been lying his ass off the whole time. I would love for him to have the balls to go in and do that.
So you don't know if
That
he's
man's
ever
an
taken
absolute
a
coward.
polygraph. You don't know if he's
He
taken
ain't
a
taking one.
polygraph. That's kind of
Yeah,
strange.
he ain't taking one. Yeah,
You ever
apparently
suspected
got
him?
something to hide.
You ever suspected him of being involved?
You know, with how much involvement that his son had with the girls and just the way the guy looked on the bridge at first, you know, there were some similarities and all that shit, but that man's just so weak-willed and has such a weak character about himself. Dude, I mean, dude's just an absolute cuck of a fucking human being that I don't think he would have it in him to kill little girls, to be honest. I mean, that takes a pretty sadistic sick son of a bitch.
Yeah, you mentioned it would take heart. I don't know if that's what you meant directly, but a lot of people are asking, what do you mean by that? That it would take heart to kill two little girls.
It ain't like stomping on a fucking pile of ants or smashing a spider on the wall with a fly swatter. You know what I mean? That's sentient beings. Those are living, breathing, laughing, emotional creatures. You know, it ain't like being overseas and shots are coming out of the window of this building and you're just shooting back towards the building type shit. That's one-on-one, eye to eye. You know, that would take one serious human being to be able to do some shitty stuff like that.
We have
And
another
Brad ain't
caller.
got that in him that I know of.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up, Patrick. We have Scout calling. Scout, you're on with Patrick if you have a question for him.
Yes, thank you, Sleuth, for having me on. And
Sure.
it's nice to meet you, Patrick.
Hello.
Just so you know, I don't believe you had anything to do with this. And I just want to state that right off the bat, Patrick. So,
well, that's two of us. I appreciate it.
So I have a couple questions for you, and you would obviously be able to provide the greatest insight. What is the Sons of Odin?
Apparently, it's an MC that operates out of Rushville, Indiana. At least they have a chapter there where that Johnny Messer shitbag lives. I was just informed of them not too long ago, and that there was a possibility that that's who was originally being investigated. was a group called the Sons of Odin. I didn't believe they existed. I know enough MCs in the area. I honestly didn't believe the person had told me until I Googled the Sons of Odin MC, and sure shit, Facebook page and everything. And but they were being looked into because a couple of their members had associations with one of the girls' dads from Delphi. And apparently it was like a drug
Oh,
relationship,
yes. Uh,
shit like that. And
yes,
that's how the Odin stuff came into existence. And I'm starting to think that that's how law enforcement got onto the Odin kick. And then back in Delphi, there's a guy that practices Asatru that, you know, talks to the gods and goddesses, Odin and all the other ones. And they kind of just fell short on staying with that lead and put my name in the Odin report. I don't know if Johnny Messer has any association with them after we threw his ass out of the club. And that's another string that they followed back to Delphi. I don't know, but from my understanding, it's a MC. I don't know where they started at, but they have chapters down in Rushville, Indiana.
Does Brad Holder have any connections to drugs?
No, I never seen the man smoke. Never seen the man eat mushrooms. I mean, I never saw him do anything besides drink mead. And I don't think I ever even seen him drunk. Like he wasn't standing around taking a bunch of shots and shotgunning beers and doing keg stands, nothing crazy or anything like that. I never knew him to do a damn thing.
I have another question for you. So I've looked into several different things with Delphi, and one of the interesting things is the repetition of numbers 2, 1, and 3, and it's highly unusual. And my question to you is, with Brad Holder, obviously, I don't think you had anything to do with this, and if anything, I think you were kind of set up. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but again, I don't think you have anything to do with it. But there's this repetition of numbers 2, 1, and 3, and it goes down to coordinates and logistics. And my question to you is, I don't know much about the military, but in the career that you had in Brad Holder, did you do a lot of logistics? Like mapping things out and things like that. Let me give you just an example, Patrick, so you kind of understand where I'm going with this. Is that Bad Brad 213? Yes, Sleuth, you know it. But it was cell tower 213, so 213, the cell tower. I think the girls were located 2,130 feet or 2,031 feet or something like that. The girls were abducted on February 13th at approximately 2:15-ish in the afternoon.
13-year-olds.
Two 13-year-olds. Yes, thank you, Sleuth. And
holy shit, you're getting me goosebumps with this one. Damn.
Oh yeah, sorry, Patrick.
No, you're all right.
I really do appreciate you and Sleuth letting me chat with you real quick. And then what was also interesting is there was a white Dodge Dart that was year 2013. And I guess kind of where I'm going with this, and even if, after thinking about it sometime in the future, because I realize you're kind of on the spot, maybe say something to Sleuth about it if you happen to know. But what I'm basically saying is the person who planned this, it was planned. I mean, you can't go 213, 2013, all these things out without saying, hey, and even coordinates down to how many feet away they were from the cell tower. Did you notice anything like that in Brad Holder? Or in your career in the military, did you do a lot of coordinates? And well, I know that sounds weird. That sounds like, of course I
don't. Anymore, we don't map things out. We don't really do the whole grid location map and compass stuff anymore. We have Blue Force trackers, which is a worldwide global positioning system. I mean, you can even scroll back all the way across the ocean if you're bored enough and see where other Blue Force tracker systems are moving around on military bases, and you can sit there and like text them and shit and troll them if you wanted to. We don't really grid or graph things out anymore in the age of technology. We're trained to do it in case, EMP goes off and shuts down electronics, but there's really, there's nothing that I would know of from our time in, like, that had anything to do with 213 out at our location where we were. And he never sat around in the corner rocking back and forth, mumbling 213 or anything to himself. Honestly, I wish I could give you more insight, because that's a lot of coincidences. Like you made my freaking hair stand up with that one.
Well, if you have any ideas, please drop a hint to Sleuth.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have one other question for you, and that is, let's just assume, okay, because a lot of things are in debate, but let's assume the girls weren't actually there at the time, and let's assume that they were brought back, okay? And then the two questions I have for you is, how do you think they would have gotten back to the scene if people had searched by there in the middle of the night, in the afternoon, even paddling a canoe down the creek? Can you think of any way in the dark that somehow that they could have shown up? I don't know.
The parts of the trail I remember, it is so damn steep off the edge of that trail down to the water side. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, you can't find anywhere along that trail where you can just drop right down to the flat area, I guess, where the girls were found very easily at all. Like, it's treacherous, it's dangerous, it's a very, very steep drop down. They would have had to been taken away from the trail and brought back in that direction, because you would not have got anybody up that hill. I don't care how strong, and it would take one seriously in shape bastard to make that kind of, physical feat, because that was just trying to step off the trail and get down the access points in that creek was horrible. You had to go further down the road past the little DCS building, and then there was a little spot you could pull off the country road and step around a guardrail, and there was a beaten path down to the creek, and that's where we would play in it, because you couldn't get to it any other way. Not off the Monon High Bridge Trail, at least that I remember.
Thank you. I have one last question, Sleuth. I don't mean to dominate.
No, take your time. We'll get back to True Grit Crime when you're finished. Take your time. Don't feel rushed.
So there was mention of a cabin, and this was mentioned by several different people. If it were just one person, I wouldn't think twice of it. But there was mention of a cabin, that the girls were taken to a cabin, not a shack, but a cabin. And I was wondering, is there an area, or I don't want to say in Delphi or something like that, but where maybe people would hang out, or something where, and I'm going to say specifically, just in my opinion, Brad Holder, that he might hang out at a particular cabin or something where people would be familiar with that. I don't know.
As far as I always knew, if that man was in that town, he was in that town coming to my house. I don't know of any little shacks or garages or cabins anywhere out on the borders of Delphi that was a hangout spot. All the kids hung out in town at the few parks that there were, and there's really nowhere to go or anything to do in Delphi for anybody. And there's no outside of town little shacks or cabins. Once you step outside the city part of Delphi, it's all Amish territory out there. There's a lot of German Baptist and Mennonite and Dunkard communities and stuff. And any shacks, barns, or buildings out there, I'm sure they're being used quite frequently by the old order, if you want to call them that was out there. And nothing that I ever knew of, at least.
What is the old order? Is that Amish?
The Amish.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
I thank you for your time, Patrick, and I thank you, Sleuth.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Scout.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, True Grit, you are on.
Bye.
Welcome back.
All right, True Grit, you are on.
Hey, fellas, I'm back.
All right, you got a bit of an echo.
True Grit.
Or I'll let you fix that echo or turn off the YouTube and then jump back on.
and we have some things that we were curious about, some more questions. Let me see. I'll turn the volume up so I can hear you.
Looks like real
Is
quick. It looks like we lost
Patrick
Patrick.
still
So
here?
I'll wait till he calls back in.
Oh, hold on. What
Here he is. He's back.
is going on?
There's a chat button at the bottom of my
Hold on. I
screen
might
that
have
had
to go back
5
out and come
things
right
on
back
it.
in. Hold on.
You
I shouldn't
clicked
have
the wrong
touched that button.
one. Yeah, it happens. I think True Grit's going to call right back. I think she has a few follow-ups, and then I think we'll call it a day.
Yeah, no worries, man.
So, what are you thinking about all this? Are they gaslighting you into thinking that maybe Messer and some of these folks that you were running around with might have something to do with this? Or are you just
I don't know how else Messer would have been on anybody's radar down in Rushville or anything related to Delphi, because he'd been sent on his way and his patches pulled. I really wish I could remember when it was that I did that shit. But it wouldn't strike me as completely off the wall if he went down there and tied in with a different club and maybe got involved with whoever this Sons of Odin MC was that I've been starting to hear a little bit more about lately.
Yeah, because I don't think we'd even be talking to you right now if you weren't friends with Brad Holder at the time and being mentioned on his Facebook, honestly, with the room
Yeah.
and stuff and all of that. I don't think we'd be I don't think we'd have ever had this conversation.
The world would have passed right by me and life would have moved on and everything would have kept kicking in my world.
Yeah.
I promise you that.
Okay. Okay, guys,
for
I'm
it.
back. Can you hear
Welcome
me?
back. Yeah, go for it, True Grit. You're on.
Good. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you guys. Like I was hooked up, but I could not hear what you were saying at all.
Could have been on my
So,
end too.
okay. So,
You there? I think we lost her again.
are you there? I'm
I
sorry.
can hear you
Okay.
now.
So you're saying like you have no affiliations with any motorcycle clubs, or do you quite might have them or anything like that?
I don't have any associations right now with any clubs, any
Okay.
MCs, any crews, or anything like that. I'm just me doing
Okay.
me.
All right. Awesome sauce. Another one, a question somebody had was, did you ever meet Elvis Fields or did you know Elvis Fields by chance?
No, I never even heard the man's name until the memorandum came out, and someone even had a picture at some point of me sitting in a park someplace under one of them big covered buildings where you can sit at picnic tables and there's grills around it. It's a picture of us out in Lebanon, Indiana. One of the times that we traveled to meet other people, so we're kind of meeting in the middle and being fair to everybody who needed to drive for kindred get-togethers. And it was a picture someone had posted, and it showed some people sitting at the table, and someone was like, "Oh, see, that's Elvis Fields right over there," and it sure in the hell wasn't. But
Okay. Okay. So that's like a
I'd never heard him before.
misconception.
Yep, another one of
Right.
those chasing straws scenarios.
Okay. Hold on, because I'm going back and forth between my questions. So let me pull it real quick and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know if Brad Holder knew or knows Richard Allen at all?
No, he never mentioned him.
Okay. And I guess the next question I have for you is it true that Abby was like at your house at some point or ever at your house or made any relay?
No, I remember most of the friends that would, like the younger girls in town that would come over through my daughter Nylin. And as best as my memory serves me, none of those two girls were ever over there with my daughter. And Brad never had anybody come over. His kid never had anybody come over while they were at my house either. It just stayed strictly our small circle of people doing our Asa True thing. We didn't invite neighbors over to watch us and spectate and shit like that. So none of them girls ever came over to my house, at least not through Logan, as Brad was mentioning. And I'm pretty sure Nylin never had him come over to my house, either my daughter.
Okay. And then somebody had just asked in the chat, it flashed, did you ever meet Liberty German's dad, Derek German, or anything like that? Did you know him or have any encounters with him at all?
No, never once.
Never once. Okay. Then let's see. Did you possibly know the guy Bill Daly, who was Brad Holder's workout buddy?
No, somebody asked that a little bit ago too, and I have no idea who his workout buddy would have been. He never worked out in Crawfordsville or Delphi at the time. Anytime he was ever at the gym, he would do it out there in Logansport, where he was from. And I never went to Logansport to hang out with him at all. I went there to see him one time where he was living with his parents, and it just creeped me out so damn bad being in that house that we just got back in the car and came back to Delphi.
Okay. Another question was, did you or Brad Holder ever meet Ron Logan, know Ron Logan, hang out with him, go to his property, anything like that?
No, I was probably close to it a few times when we would go out to the Monon High Bridge Trail to, go past out in the country to the spot where we would get in the water and play when, me and my kids and stepkids at the time, but we never went to anybody's house and hung out with them. I never met the man.
Okay. Let's see. Did you ever meet James Chadwell or have any interactions with Chadwell, meet him, know him, anything like that?
No, I have no idea the name.
Okay. And let's see. And then I guess the last question that I have right now, that they wanted me to ask was, there's an organization, I guess trough.org had been on the Murder Sheets podcast. They are people who represent like the beliefs and religion. They wanted me to ask how you feel about that group. Do you think that, you guys are on the same level and balance, I guess?
No, someone asked that a little bit ago as well. I've never looked into their practices or how they hold their ceremonies or their groups, belief structures. Each kindred, each group that's out there that practice Asatru, they vary in different ways when it comes to rules and things they allow and don't allow during their ceremonies and the kind of people that they have in membership. I've never looked into them. I've never spoke to them. I have no idea who the hell any of them are, to be honest. I don't know which way they lean more when it comes to Asatru. If they're, universalists, if they're folkish. I honestly don't know anything about them.
Okay. I do have
What
one last
cat?
question.
Did you see that about the cat thing?
What? I didn't see
No, I
it.
was talking to someone over here. There was
Let's see.
something popped up about a cat and a picture or some shit.
right
I
here. Here
barely
it is.
saw it on the screen.
Why did you pick that cat picture for your book cover? It's so creepy and sad.
What goddamn book? How can I even see my books in my entertainment stand? I can barely see them. What cat picture?
I don't know. They've probably been snooping and found it somewhere online.
I don't have anything online. I don't have any social media. How'd you pick the cat picture for your book cover? I never even wrote a book. All right, whatever, I guess. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Okay. And then I guess one last question. Did you ever follow any of the political rallies or anything like that, like Trump rally or anything like that? Do you have any stance on any of things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it has been posted all over everything. That's what all the screenshots, all the click paste parroting crap that everybody was doing with this whole Nazi skinhead bullshit was pictures off the SPLC website at a Trump rally in Indianapolis when we were down there to keep all them black bloc Antifa bastards from running up and sticking people in the head and punching women and old people in the face and shit like that. We were down there at Trump rally in Indianapolis.
Right.
And that's what all the, he's a Trumper, he's a racist, he's a neo-Nazi. Look, he's out supporting Trump. And yep, I was in a couple of those in the past.
Okay. And like, did you get to meet with Brian James or have any interactions with like Brian James or Josh Crisper or any of the people that they had mentioned at the hearings at all?
What hearings? This murder investigation hearings?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't know that they'd mentioned
They had mentioned
Brian
those
James
names.
or
Yes.
no. I've spoke to him before. I remember meeting him down there at the Trump rally. You know what I mean? When they were down there with the rest of all the people that showed up to march in the rally with their signs and their pro-Trump flags and shirts and all that stuff. I mean, I remember meeting him down there. We were standing around actually talking when a college-age girl walked up in the center of our crowd right outside this building and just stood there with her head tilted back and just screamed at the top of her lungs for about 5 minutes. And we just all just stood around and waited for her to gas out and go home. And
wow.
So it was pretty odd, to be truthful. I guess that was a form of protest.
And had you met like Brian James before that at all? Like, had you had any like meetings with him before that or known him for any time before that?
I had bumped into him a few times in the past through mutual acquaintances and stuff like that, but nothing really that's be worth mentioning, or
Okay.
there was nothing that stood out about any of the meetings I'd had in the past with him.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, True Grit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Patrick, I think that's going to do it. I think there's a couple lingers in the chat, but I think we've covered all the questions. I think the only one that wasn't answered was they were trying to tie you into the Flora stuff. And I think that's how your name got brought up, because you lived in Flora, lived in Delphi. They were trying to connect you to both. And they tried to say it was racially motivated. So you stated
I remember that part.
You said Anna was dating somebody that was in the military with you. Is that correct?
She was dating one of the supply guys, one of the supply sergeants from the armory long time ago. I don't even think it lasted very long either.
Was he a black guy?
He was white as the driven snow.
Okay. So I think that debunks that too, because they were trying to say that individual may have been African American.
No. I heard about all that stuff after the first time we did our little video. People were getting on there, and that's when the whole Flora thing was really getting big and brought up. And I said it was an absolute goddamn tragedy what happened to those, little girls out there and whatnot. And there was people in the chat groups. Oh, you hear how he's talking about black people and white this and black that, and his white national people were in those comments talking about color way more than I ever did. And as far as I remember, I never mentioned color one time, and everybody else was just so fixated on it because, people follow. They don't think for themselves. They're just, that crowd mentality is a dangerous thing.
And they'll believe it if they want to. A lot of,
including they're going no matter what I say.
Yeah, Fantasyland. And it takes some time to get yourself out of that mindset, but you have to work at it. But I know where they're at because I was there. But I think that's going to do it, man. I appreciate it. I guess we'll keep an eye on the comments from the replay crew. I'm sure you don't mind answering some questions there on and off. And if there's nothing else that you want to mention or put out there.
There's nothing. Like I said, I didn't bring no notes or anything that I can think of that's worth mentioning, worth saying. And hell, even if I even did, there's still the people that's just so dead set on what they think they know, and they're proud of their own ignorance and shit. So they're just going to think what they want and say what they want, and I'm not going to try to convince them otherwise. Ain't my job. Their parents failed them, not me.
They're going to take some things that were brought up today and run with them still. So it's like it's a never-ending thing. So even though
you see me photoshopped with a fucking Hitler mustache and fucking a red band around my arm and shit, and some video that'll probably wind up over in Scotland with the little Scottish troll fucking latrine out there and shit, being all emotional and rambling on about fanboys and all this other shit. And I'm sure it's going to happen. I can't wait to see it. It's actually pretty comical. You know, I could use a good laugh.
And if you had anything to do with these murders, I don't think you're going to come talk with me. I think the fact that you're speaking with me is that the defense team was using you, and they were using social media to help their client. So I just feel like that's kind of what you're doing by speaking with me and speaking with everybody. Is if they're going to weaponize social media, I guess we can to at least get to the truth.
Whatever I can do to help.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to go head over to an engagement that I have here in a few. If you have anything you need from me, Patrick, you got my email, and I'll probably see you in the comment section here because they're not done, I don't think.
Oh, I'll be more than happy to. Well,
All
I
right,
appreciate it,
take
man.
care. Hey, it was my pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys, there you have it. Speak up now or forever hold your peace. Looks like Judge Gall is most likely going to throw out the Odinism stuff. We've heard directly from Patrick. We're not here to clear him. We're here just to hear what he has to say, gather information, put it together, pick it apart, even if you want to. But I just want to thank him, and I want to wish all you guys a happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. And I'll catch you guys in the comments. So see you again real soon. Peace.